Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of the AI Sana program, a national program for training entrepreneurs. With you is Alina Abdrakhmanova, and today our guest is Asset Abdualiev, co-founder and CEO of Silk Road Innovation Hub. Entrepreneurs and startup founders from Central Asia and Silicon Valley. Asset, welcome. We're very happy to have you. Today we'd like to talk about ecosystems. Startup ecosystems in Central Asia with the US at the center. But first, it would be great if you could tell us a bit about your background. How did you move in 2017, and why did you decide to pursue yourself in a technological academic environment?
Alina, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here on this podcast. Of course, being part of the AI Sana program, as far as I know, one of the largest initiatives for developing AI skills led by the Ministry of Higher Education, deserves great respect. In fact, I'd like to highlight that the government of Kazakhstan is doing tremendous work in advancing AI. We see it, we hear about it, and we experience it directly. It's really great to see so many initiatives focused on capacity building and educating people. Thank you again for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here and share my experience. I'm originally from Semipalatinsk. I came to the US, studied at a Turkish lyceum, graduated from the Eurasian National University, worked in the public sector, and in 2017 moved to the US to study. I was admitted to Harvard University, specifically the Harvard Kennedy School. I was part of the Nurlan Kaparov program, a very well-known program at the time, and I was its first scholar. I also got into a joint program with Stanford Business School, which is the #1 business school in the world. I was fortunate to study at both Harvard and Stanford starting in 2017. After graduating from Stanford, I worked in consulting at McKinsey, then joined a US startup, a tech company called TechScrabbit, where I was head of strategy. And since 2023, I've been leading Silk Road Hub, a community for founders from Central Eurasia in Silicon Valley.
Tell us about Silk Road Hub. I know you have a presentation so we can better understand what it is and what opportunities it creates for founders, not only from Kazakhstan, but from the entire region.
Before we begin, I want to mention that we are currently at this location. I'm in the Silk Road Innovation Hub office. You can see it behind me on the screen. And Alina, you were actually actively involved in helping us find this office. I remember when you came 3 years ago with the ministry team. That was exactly around February, March 2023. I remember you came, we all walked around this office, looked at it and said, great office, it's exciting when you're just starting something.
Back then, it was hard to imagine what it would become, and now it's already fully lived in with flags and everything.
So you were there at the very beginning, at the foundation, which is really nice.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I don't usually talk about it much.
No, you should. You're being modest. It should be said. I officially confirm that.
Thank you, thank you.
You can see the presentation, right?
Yes, I can see it. Very interesting to learn what you're currently working on. And later, I'd also like to ask some questions that I think our students will be very interested in.
Silk Road Innovation Hub. Essentially, we are building a bridge between Silicon Valley and Central Eurasia. Our hub was founded in 2023, as mentioned, and first and foremost, it's a home, a place where we gather talent from our region, which we call Central Eurasia. This includes 5 countries of Central Asia, as well as Azerbaijan, Turkey, Georgia, and Mongolia. So we are building a community for founders and startups from our region. Our community is built on the values of give, dream, and change. We bring together people who give more than they take, people who dream big, who think about ambitious goals and projects. We call them change makers, people who transform society for the better. We also have a unique location. We are right in the heart of Silicon Valley, in Palo Alto, just 5 minutes from Stanford University. Here's our office. This is what it looks like from the outside. It's quite iconic because it used to be the office of Robinhood. The company is now valued at over $60 billion. Also of the venture fund. At Silk Road Innovation Hub, we basically bring Silicon Valley together. It's me, Aykumis Seksimbayeva, and Shakrukh Ibragimov. And we also have 2 people in Kazakhstan, and that's Adia and Nazgul. As I mentioned earlier, I've been here since 2017. Aykumis also graduated here, worked for a long time in television, at Kabar, in the creative industry. Now he is the official representative of Astana Hub and works as a program manager. At the hub, Shakrukh is responsible for all operational and program-related matters in Uzbekistan. Over this time, we've built more than 40 partnerships with leading ecosystems in the region, including governments. These include corporate and infrastructure partners, big tech as they're called. We work closely with almost all ministries and ministers in the region, as well as with the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, Organizations like Samruk Kazina, Beitarek, and many others, we are very closely connected with all of them. On the VC ecosystem side, our partners include Asana Hub, IT Park Mongolia, Draper, Nazarbayev University. All of them are our partners. On the corporate side, leading companies like Freedom, InDrive, Pasha, Kazakh Telecom, BI Group. On the infrastructure side, Google, NVIDIA, Netflix, DLA, Carta, and this list keeps growing. In terms of community, we have a very fast-growing one, currently around 2,000 members. We've had over 350 events attended by over 12,000 people. These are all real photos in the backcountry, by the way. What is the Innovation Hub Silk Crew? These are first and foremost the main areas of our work. These include startups, investment projects, events and media programs, and podcasts about startup programs. In partnership with Asana Hub and Asana Hub Ventures and IT Park Ventures, we launched the Alchemist Silicon Valley Residency Program. This is our flagship program, which we've been running for 2 consecutive years. This year will be the 3rd batch. In this program, startups from our region come to Silicon Valley and stay for about 4 months, up to 6 months, trying to enter the US market. What makes this program unique is that we provide everything: office space, accommodation, and the program itself. It's essentially a sandbox where startups can come and attempt to break into the US market. We launched the program in 2024. There were 22 startups, and they raised over $17 million in the US, or are already generating revenue. 7 million in venture investments. Last year, we had around 23 startups, completed 108 pilots, and raised more than $1.4 million in the US. The 2025 numbers are slightly lower simply because less time has passed. Next year, we'll measure again. I'm confident the numbers will grow significantly. It's a unique program, and we run it in partnership with Alchemist Accelerator, the leading B2B accelerator in the world, which we're very proud of. Overall, the program is going very successfully. There are many great and inspiring stories. These are some photos from our office and events we host there. We also run the Go Abroad program together with Azerbaijan University and the New Impact Foundation. This program is focused on developing the startup VC ecosystem at Nazarbayev University, probably the leading university in Central Asia. We're happy to run this program with them. Every year we bring startups from the Nazarbayev University ecosystem to Silicon Valley for various programs. These are some photos. Also, Hero Draper, the Hero Training Program, you're very familiar with it. You actually launched it, as I remember, when I was working in Astana Hub. That was the 1st batch. Now it's already the 3rd batch. We've completed it. During this time, more than 37 startups have come to Silicon Valley for a 5-week program. This program is implemented with the support of Astana Hub, IT Park Uzbekistan, and Draper University. And here are some photos from the events. By the way, are you in this photo? I think you took it, right?
I think I took that photo. That's a photo from the shop.
Yeah, you see, so this is your legacy, right? We also organized a major competition, the largest startup competition in the history of Central Eurasia. It's called Road to TechCrunch Battlefield. We run it together with TechCrunch Disrupt. TechCrunch Disrupt is the largest and most prestigious tech conference in the world. It takes place annually in San Francisco. We reached an agreement with TechCrunch, and starting from last year, we sent 3 startups directly to the final stage, Startup Battlefield. Historically, startups from our region couldn't break into it, so we created this pathway for our founders to access the competition directly. We fully cover flights and accommodation. And we provide a fast track. Last year, we received 485 applications from 27 countries. We had more than 40 jury members from 10 countries, which we're very proud of, 3 winners, and they went to TechCrunch. This competition received wide coverage in international media, including on TechCrunch.com. TechCrunch.com is a leading media outlet, essentially the equivalent of the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal in the startup world. We were featured on Yahoo News as well, which gave us very strong international exposure that we are very proud of. We also run various educational programs. Over the past 2 to 3 years, we have trained more than 300 people in angel investing and venture investments. We believe it is very important to develop the angel investment industry in our region. It is very important to continue this work. We also carry it out with the support of the World Bank, the Ministry of Digital Development of Kazakhstan, Astana Hub, BG Global, Nazarbayev University, and IT Park Ventures Uzbekistan. Last year, we conducted a very prestigious program together with Stanford University. It was officially the first program that Stanford delivered for our region, called Leadership in AI and Creative Economy. Brought the largest delegation in Central Asia. 6,000 people participated. Had an official program at Stanford University with Cohere, OpenAI, Perplexity, Coursera, Palo Alto Networks, LinkedIn, and Microsoft. So it was a very, very strong program that we delivered last year. Another major direction is investments. At Innovation Hub, we actively invest in startups. We already have more than 35 portfolio companies. One of them is a unicorn, Higgsfield. We were among the early investors in Higgsfield. We have 3 startups valued at over $100 million in the US. Since our investments, startup valuations have grown by 2 to 12 times. Our startups have raised over $300 million in venture funding. Through Silk Road Angels Club, which I'll talk about later, we have invested more than $1 million into startups. These are some of the leading startups in our region that we invest in. Some of them you may already know. We'll skip that part. We also launched our own English-speaking club, which we run together with my partner Abay Absametov, your former colleague. Abay and I have a group of around 30-40 investors with whom we share interesting deals and co-invest. Last year, we invested over 1 million into startups across 7 deals, which we are very happy about, and we are actively contributing to the development of the angel ecosystem in our region, events and activities. In 2024, organized the first and the largest tech conference dedicated to our region, Central Eurasia Silicon Valley 2024. We are proud of this event. There were more than 1,300 participants. By the way, all tickets were sold. It was not a free event. We had 50 speakers, 157 venture investors, 300 founders, 100 startups, and 1 million social media views. It was a massive event. The largest event outside our region, 100%. And so far, it's the only one. It was very important for us to hold this conference to establish our presence in Silicon Valley and show that the region has huge potential. By the way, this is a real photo. Here is Ruslan Madiev, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Artificial Intelligence, and a full auditorium. Also, for 3 consecutive years, we have been partners of TechCrunch and SRAP, a leading tech conference. Over the past 2 years, 2024-2025, we had the largest pavilion at TechCrunch. This shows that the region has huge potential and that we have strong opportunities to showcase our startups on the biggest stage in the world. Together with QVG, Kasan Venture Group, last year we also held the LP Venture Summit, the first such summit in the history of the region, where we invited investors and venture funds. We invited more than 35 organizations from DC countries with total assets exceeding $160 billion. It was the first time we professionally organized a discussion around venture investments. Also, in November last year, we had a meeting with President Tokayev during his visit to New York. We gathered a group of founders who met with the president. We presented the projects they are working on. We had around 24 startups with a combined valuation of over $1.4 billion. These are serious startups with strong valuations. This meeting also demonstrates that we have a truly responsive government that pays significant attention to the development of startups, innovation, and the AI ecosystem. And I believe that this kind of meeting is clear proof of that.
Some of the founders also spoke as speakers in our program.
As part of this, we had meetings with the Minister of Digital Development of Kazakhstan and the Minister of Digital Development of Uzbekistan. Overall, we actively support dialogue with governments. It's very important because the region is experiencing a real boom, a startup boom, a digitalization boom, an AI boom. And it's very important, in my opinion, to support this movement from the US side as well. We also organize a large number of events, including at universities like Berkeley, Harvard, and MIT. We host events such as ICPC alumni meetups. Timur Turlov has personally attended, Arsen Tomsky, Unicorn Cup reaches. We've held events in Baku and Almaty. We are very active across the US and the entire region, organizing large, high-quality events. We also regularly host meetings with leading venture capitalists, investors, and startup founders from Silicon Valley. We've had the CEO of Y Combinator, the chief scientist at Google, OpenAI co-founder Andrej Karpathy, and partners from Sequoia Electric Capital. Many leading funds have come and participated in our events. Today, we actually had a meeting in our office with Aydin Senkut, one of the most successful venture investors in Silicon Valley, originally from Turkey. He is the founder of Felicis Ventures. Recently, they raised their 10th fund with over $900 million. On the corporate side, we run various corporate programs, working with leading corporations in our region, providing educational services, consulting, and training for major corporations, meaning across startups, venture, and the development of both corporate and national ecosystems. We're very happy to work with large corporations, as it shows there is strong interest not only from governments and founders, but also from big companies. Media and podcasts. I think now everyone has a podcast, you have one as well, and we also have our own podcast. Previously, we had what I believe was the first and only podcast in the world about our founders in English. There are many podcasts in Russian, Kazakh, English, Uzbek, Azerbaijani, Turkish, but not about our founders in English. But unfortunately, we didn't have podcasts in English before. 2 years ago, we launched one. It's called Silk Road Podcast, and it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. There we share information about our founders in English. I can officially say that this podcast is in the top 1% of the most active podcasts globally. Why? Because statistically, 99% of podcasts don't go beyond 20 episodes. We already have around 20, 25 episodes published. By the way, you can listen to them. As for our plans for 2026, we will be launching various programs. The AI Leaders Program, which we are launching together with Stanford University and OpenAI. Startup programs, Alchemist, Silicon Valley Residency, Road to the Crunch, Battlefield, Disrupt 2026, Evented. Also a major research initiative on AI together with MIT, the main hub, and IT Park. That's roughly it. I'll pause here. Please feel free to ask any questions.
There are actually many questions. We'll move from the student perspective to the government perspective. Why do the governments of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan actively support their innovation hubs? But first, I'd like to ask, we've conducted many interviews with different speakers, and many say that nowadays it's not necessary to leave your region. You can build everything from Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan and grow a startup for the global market. But at the same time, you help founders come to Silicon Valley and develop there. Why do you think this is important, and at what stage should founders do it?
I believe there is definitely some truth in what other market participants are saying. Without leaving your region, given the tools available today, you can build a truly large company and try to enter global markets. In principle, it is possible, but at the same time, if someone has the ambition to build a truly global company, I believe they need to go to a major market like the US or China and try to build their startup there. I'm speaking specifically from the perspective of the US and Silicon Valley. There are many examples of this. A good example is Higgsfield, our portfolio company. 99% of their team is based in Kyrgyzstan, and they are still expanding the team. The CEO is based in Silicon Valley, and this may actually be the right approach. They do fundraising in Silicon Valley. Higgsfield has already raised over $150 million in the US, even $330 million. You simply cannot raise that kind of capital in Kyrgyzstan or in our region. You can raise that level of funding in the US, in Silicon Valley, but the team, all the developers are based in Kyrgyzstan. So in fact, the money we raise there benefits our local economy. Why? Because the team earns money, raises funding, and pays salaries in Kyrgyzstan. What does that give us? People receive salaries in dollars, very competitive salaries, because they are highly skilled, highly qualified professionals. Third, they create additional jobs because they generate new sources of income. Fourth, they stay focused. They work on the product and build for the global market. At the same time, if you look at Higgsfield, most of their revenue comes from large developed markets in the US, Europe, Southeast Asia, and so on. So the strategy is correct, but if you want to build a large global company, it probably makes sense to move to larger markets, especially from a fundraising perspective.
And at what stage should this be done? The competition there is intense. The costs are completely different. Should founders move to Silicon Valley at the idea stage, or first do some fundraising, test the product locally, and come prepared?
There's no single answer to that because in principle, you can come at any stage. You can come even at the idea stage and it works. It might even be the optimal option. You can also try building your startup in your home region first. We see that very successful founders, repeat founders, people who have already built startups, maybe sold them, closed them, or done something else, they have experience. When they build their second startup, they approach it very differently. They already have a clear playbook and follow it. So there is no universal answer. You can come at any stage. At Silk Road, we have programs even for very early stage founders like Draper, when it's just an idea. And there are programs like Alchemist, Silicon Valley Residency, when you come as a B2B startup. When you come as a B2B startup, you're already trying to scale your product that you built in your region to the US market, different approaches.
If we compare the two approaches, some come to find new markets and customers, others come to fundraise. Who's Silicon Valley more, for those who come to sell or those who come to fundraise?
Both. Silicon Valley is a massive market. To give you context, about a quarter, even up to a third, of the global venture capital market is located in Silicon Valley, so it's a very strong opportunity. Everything is interconnected. If you have strong traction in the US, it's easier to raise funding. If you raise funding, it's easier to acquire new customers. It's all interconnected. So the two key things are traction and fundraising. Those are the most important aspects of any startup.
How do you choose which program to join? We've had many speakers, and of course we've heard about Y Combinator Start X. Some of our students feel that if you don't get into YC or StartX, there's no point in going anywhere else and you should try something different. But in reality, there are many programs. Even at Silk Road Innovation Hub alone, there are dozens of programs you can apply to. How do you decide what fits?
In reality, an accelerator is a good entry point for startups, but not mandatory. If we look at major startups, Higgsfield, Alma, others from our region, many of them didn't go through just one accelerator. Some simply started building from scratch. Accelerators don't build your business for you, they can help you focus. I think that's the main role of any accelerator. After that, you do the actual work yourself. There's a startup called Alim. It went through an accelerator program. Today, it's one of the leading tech startups in the region. It has surpassed Duolingo in terms of users. They already have over 500,000 users. They've surpassed Duolingo in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan in terms of downloads. These founders are alumni of our Alchemist and Silicon Valley residency programs. They started with a B2B idea, but eventually shifted to B2C. And I think this is a good example that participation in an accelerator is not a strict requirement or some kind of universal rule. Programs are very different. For example, Alchemist, we clearly say that it is not a fundraising program. We don't help you raise money at Alchemist. At Alchemist, we help you find traction so you can acquire customers. And once you have US customers, it becomes much easier to raise funding from US funds. They will come to you. Focus there is different. Draper is more of an early stage program run by Draper. We have startups like Citix, Trust Me, they raise funding through Draper. These are good examples. StartX is our partner, but it's an accelerator only for Stanford University. And secondly, you typically have to go through the Nazarbayev University ecosystem, and they only take 2 to 3 startups per year.
You mentioned that there are startups that raised funding, for example, through Draper's Hero Training Program. There are such cases, but most of these startups ended up going back home. They spent some time in the valley and then returned after a few months. Why do you think that happens? And which path is more recommended? Should you come and stay, for example, like all in? Keep pushing in one direction for years and try. Or gain expertise, go back to your home market and try to implement everything there.
Good question. We actually have some statistics. The Alchemist and Silicon Valley residency programs, which we launched in 2024, there were 22 startups. Out of them, 18 went back and 4 stayed here. In 2 of those startups, things are starting to work. They're beginning to see some product development and traction and so on. But what we saw is that after a year, out of those 18, 6 came back again. So founders come, realize that the US market is like the Champions League final, like the Olympic Games. You can't just show up casually, especially if you already have a product and a market. There are specifics, team, family, network, and so on. Founders come, realize it's not that easy, which is actually a good thing. Even if they understand that the US market is not suitable for their current product, that's already a valuable answer. Why? Because in a short period, 3 to 4 months, they get a clear answer whether the US market fits them or not. If they come on their own, they'll spend 2 to 3 years making mistakes, losing time, money, and resources, getting disappointed, and then leaving. Here, we give you that concentrated experience up front. Within 2 to 4 months, they understand the answer. They face challenges, visas, taxes, product market fit, team, family, many issues to solve. After gaining this experience, they go back, fix everything, build their business, sometimes sell it, restructure it, obtain work visas, rethink their strategy, and then return much more prepared. I believe those who come back have significantly higher chances than those coming for the first time. And that's actually normal. Our role as an ecosystem is to build a critical mass of people. In venture, out of 100 startups, maybe 5 succeed. That's why it's important to build that critical mass so that quantity turns into quality.
You've been actively operating for 3 years now. It seems that almost all notable startups in the region have gone through one of the Silk Road Innovation Hub programs. First question, what kind of startups and founders typically go through your programs? What determines their success?
I think the key factor is founders who, despite already having success or recognition in their region, understand that they've reached a ceiling and want something bigger. That's the first category. We often have quite successful founders coming in. They're making hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars per year. And when I ask them, you're already doing well, why do you need this program? They say, I understand that I've hit the ceiling in this market. I'm not going to make more than $2 to $3 million a year in this market because I already control about 70% of a certain logistics segment. And they say, I want to build something bigger. These are founders who don't want to stay in their comfort zone. They want a new challenge. Ultimately, these are founders who don't just want to build local businesses or small companies. They want to conquer the world, to change the world. So that's the first category of founders. The second category is younger founders who are already aiming for large markets from the start. That's the second category. And the third category is people who are essentially doing exploration, trying to understand for themselves whether the US is a fit or not.
From the perspective of American investors, they do pay attention when they see our founders. For example, for me personally, it's very interesting that cases like Citix or TrustMe, these are quite local projects. Things like document signing or smart city projects, yet they still manage to raise funding in the Valley. So what do Silicon Valley investors actually pay attention to when they see startups from Central Asia?
I think investors don't really divide startups into from Central Asia and not from Central Asia. For them, startups are a homogeneous group. But what founders should pay attention to is, first of all, having a valid work visa in the US. Many people underestimate this, which is why when founders arrive, our first lecture is actually about visas. Why? Because you are not allowed to work or make money in the US without the proper legal status. It's not like in other countries. In the US, it's not that you just arrive, open a business, and get a residence permit. That doesn't work. There's a full process. So founders must pay attention to visas, proper legal entity setup, bank accounts, basic things that need to be handled. We help with that. And of course, networking is extremely important. You can't just arrive and expect opportunities to come to you. You have to build networks. People invest in people they know and feel comfortable with, and so on. I remember Arsen Tomsky sharing this story. When he had his startup, Now in Drive, it was already doing about $50 million in revenue. He came to the US and investors told him, "We're not sure we can give you large amounts of money. What if you disappear? How would we even find you?" So Arsen made a big effort. He moved to Silicon Valley, settled there, went to Stanford, wrote a book. Once he became part of the ecosystem and built a network, he was able to raise 200 to 250 million on his own terms. So it's very important to become, at least to some extent, local here. Of course, you can't do it quickly, but understanding the rules of the game is part of our role as an ecosystem to guide founders. If someone succeeds, we're only happy. Investors don't have predefined expectations that say a startup from Afghanistan must do X or Y. There's no such reputation yet. It needs to be built.
Do investors focus more on the technological component or on your results, your metrics from the home market? How important is that?
Your home market traction is absolutely relevant. Being successful in your domestic market is something US VCs do value.
And if we compare fundraising in Silicon Valley versus fundraising back home, what are the key differences in investors, check sizes, processes?
Well, of course, it's in the check size. I think the biggest difference is that this is not only a problem of Kazakhstan, it's a problem of all developing markets. You might raise 100K, 500K locally, but when it comes to $2 to $3 million rounds, Series A, B, C, D is basically impossible to raise in our market. That's the main difference. And it's not only Kazakhstan. The same applies to countries like Japan, Belgium, maybe Poland, anywhere with a limited number of VCs. In the Middle East, in Arab countries, it's the same issue. You can raise pre-seed and seed, but beyond that, there's almost nothing. That's probably the biggest difference between our regions. But to scale, founders need capital. And that's why the ecosystem, the venture funds, are all concentrated here. For example, just today we had a VC fund visiting us. One fund alone manages $900 million. Their latest fund is $900 million. The entire venture market of Kazakhstan and Central Asia overall is around $100 million per year. That means one single fund in the US manages almost 10 years worth of venture investment for our entire region.
So it's probably fair to say that at the seed stage, you can still raise money at home, but at some point you will have to go there anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
Are there any industries or sectors that are currently the most attractive to investors?
Well, of course, it's all AI, but our investment thesis is not about chasing hype or specific industries. We invest in founders, in talented people, guys, girls, because they will figure out themselves what the trend is, where to invest, what to build. Our job is to find such people and support them.
That's really, really cool. Since we're talking about founder personality and team composition, there's a stereotype that when you come to Silicon Valley, you can come alone and build a team from top talent already there. How true and realistic is that?
I think that's somewhat of a myth that you can just come from, say, Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan and easily build a team here. Yes, it's possible, of course. But you have to understand that there needs to be a reason why a talented founder, engineer, or co founder would want to join you. That person has hundreds of options. If someone has worked at a big company, has strong experience, ambition to build a startup, energy, age, why should they join you? That's the biggest challenge. If you're not a rock star founder, if you haven't worked at major companies, if you don't have a strong funding source, the chances that someone really strong will join you are very, very low. But if you previously worked at OpenAI, where, say, a VP of engineering raised $500 million, of course, talented people will join you because they see your track record. But if you just came from, say, Karaganda and want to build a startup without a network, I'm not saying it's impossible, it is possible, but it's extremely, extremely hard. It's often easier to join an existing team, build a product with them, learn, and then later create something of your own.
You mentioned regulation, that you need to register a company, handle all the paperwork. It sounds quite complex and even intimidating. Why can't you just come with your Kazakhstan company? How bureaucratic is this process, and what should you be prepared for if you want to try yourself in Silicon Valley?
The process is not easy. As Silk Road Innovation Hub, as an ecosystem, we understand these things very well and we are ready to guide founders. Why did Silk Road Innovation Hub even emerge? How did this idea come about? Because when we launched Silk Road Innovation Hub, we saw that all founders arrive and face the same issues, learning everything from scratch. One founder figures out the visa process, then the next founder arrives and goes through the same process again. This can take from 6 months to a year, even in the best case. So we decided to build a community where founders can share experience and knowledge with each other. For example, we understand visa issues, legal matters, and other critical aspects very well, and we can guide you and save you 6 months of your life immediately. Let's say something doesn't work fine, but what we see is 99% of startups go through this path. Most likely, this is the correct path. Don't waste time on alternatives. A person understands everything quickly, one, two, three, and moves forward. There's a startup we invested in, it was born within Silk Road Hub. The startup is Alma. It is currently one of the leading legal tech startups in the US, in Silicon Valley, founded by Adar. They are building products that help people obtain US work visas. We work very closely with them. Many of our founders have received their work visas through Alma. Alma is a company that originated from Silk Road Innovation Hub. That's how the ecosystem becomes self-reinforcing.
Yes, in a way, you are like an island of Central Asia in Silicon Valley. And the question is, how much support do you get from governments? I know that Astana Hub works closely with you, as well as IT Park Uzbekistan. How strong is this support, and what motivates them? It may seem like, okay, a startup moved to the US, registered a legal entity there, and if you look at it superficially, it looks like a brain drain. But on the other hand, there are clear benefits that significantly outweigh this. For example, the Higgsfield case, where 99% of the team is still in Kazakhstan. So what motivates large IT parks, local ecosystems to support hubs like Silk Road Innovation Hub and encourage founders to go there?
Overall, we do feel strong support. And it's not just support, it's also like-minded people. These are people in Kazakhstan and across the region who understand why building such ecosystem projects is important. This includes the main hub, the Ministry of Digitalization and AI, Nazarbayev University, and the Ministry of Higher Education, which is actually the initiator of the project AI Sana. Also in Uzbekistan, Mongolia, Tajikistan, Azerbaijan, Turkey. Right now, I think there is a very strong group of decision makers, the right people in the right positions, who understand the importance of this work. We communicate with them very easily, almost intuitively. We understand each other. Why is this important? Because we clearly understand that we cannot scale if we operate only as Kazakhstan. We need to move as a region. We call it Central Eurasia. In the US, no one says Peru, Mexico, Chile separately. They say LATAM. No one says Qatar, UAE, Saudi. They say MENA. No one says Bhutan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, they say Southeast Asia. No one says Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, they say Central and Eastern Europe. So it becomes clear the single country positioning doesn't work. You need to come and say, we are not Kazakhstan, not Kyrgyzstan, not Tajikistan, we are a region, Central Eurasia, and that actually makes sense. That's why there is a strong desire to operate as a region, to understand that we need to collaborate and move forward together. As a unified region, we need representation. And now we also have the right ecosystem players. Astana Hub, IT Park Uzbekistan, the Digitalization Agency in Azerbaijan, IT Park Tajikistan in Dushanbe, IT Park Mongolia. These are the right partners we can work with and build aligned initiatives.
Is it possible to create exclusive partnerships, for example with TechCrunch, where our startups get into finals of competitions or gain access to top accelerator programs? How does that work?
There's actually no magic here. It's systematic work that we build over time. First, partners trust that we are legitimate, that we deliver quality, that we understand what we're doing. Second, they see that we've been working with them for years. For example, we've worked with TechCrunch for 3 years, and now we're starting to work with Alchemist. There is trust and comfort. They understand we are here to stay. We speak the same language. We operate from the same region. We sync easily. They see that we bring strong startups, that we curate carefully, that the quality is high, and that's what allows us to get more exclusive opportunities. Also, partners often come to us themselves and propose collaborations because they see the potential. And in general, in Silicon Valley, there's this dynamic. If you build something high quality, genuinely, ethically, and show real results, people are naturally drawn to you. It becomes a funnel. By developing such projects, we are effectively developing the entire ecosystem.
You made an interesting point about ethics, because sometimes it feels like the startup world, especially in the US, is very aggressive. You arrive, extreme competition, everyone competing with everyone. So, what values are actually the most important, and which ones might seem unexpected for founders from Central Asia?
The core value of Silicon Valley, and I'd say the core value of Silk Road Innovation Hub, is giving. You need to operate with the mindset of give more than you take. You should come not with the mindset of what can I get, but rather what can I contribute. And in fact, I think most founders already have this mindset by default. People here are givers by nature. They really want to make the world around them better. That's why perhaps our innovation hub is strong, because we work with a group of people who are already in the top 0.01% in their countries. By default, they are givers, highly motivated, ambitious, ethical. And because of that, our job becomes easier. The cohort we work with is, in a sense, quite elite. More broadly, if we talk about the community, it's really a community of givers. People in the valley tend to give more than they take, and I think that's the most important thing.
And if I'm a startup that just arrived in my first days in the Valley, what can I actually give to others if I don't yet have anything?
Good question. To give, you don't necessarily need to already know something or have resources. There's a great English word, resourceful. A resourceful person is someone who can create something out of nothing. It's easy to say, I can't do the talk, but then I can't do anything yet. I have nothing to offer. But that's more of a victim mindset, in my opinion. I just arrived, help me. That approach doesn't really work because every person has some kind of skill. For example, Linnes, you're one of the top specialists in higher education in the region, at the very least. And I'm sure there are many startups that could benefit from your knowledge, like how recruiting works, how hiring works, how to build teams, how recruiting works in universities, how to structure processes, and so on. Even if you simply come and share your experience as a startup founder, people will be grateful. Or, for example, if you have strong experience managing large projects, like launching a major university in Geneva, that's valuable experience not everyone has. Even just helping someone with a partnership, sharing your experience, or introducing people to each other already counts. And no one is saying it has to be something big or major. Sometimes it's very simple. For example, you know someone interested in fintech in emerging markets, and you send them an article. Hey, I remember you were interested in this. I found something useful. Take a look. That already matters. That's already giving. It means you're thinking about the other person's success. The key is to give intentionally, not just randomly helping everyone and expecting something in return. You need to give something that actually helps the person succeed. I think that's the most important principle.
If we talk about students who are watching us now, undergraduate students, early master's students, young, ambitious people, what would you advise them if they want to build a startup and eventually go global?
I think the most important skill they need to learn is sales. Sales skills are the most critical ones today. The single most important skill for any founder is the ability to sell. Why? Because technical skills are becoming commoditized. With vibe coding and AI, you can build large applications literally in a few hours. AI can do it for you. There's no real differentiation anymore in technical skills. Whether it's finance, accounting, legal, programming, math, all of that is becoming less relevant. Why? Because AI will most likely already be doing it better than any specialist within the next 2 to 3 years. What really matters is community building, the ability to sell your product, and marketing. These are the core skills everyone needs to master, especially for young people who want to succeed in life.
All right, let's take a quick moment for promotion. If there are any programs students can join in the near future, especially if they already have an MVP, this is something to pay attention to.
We have two programs. For students, I think our Road to TechCrunch, which is Battlefield, would be a great fit. We are already accepting applications. I'll open the website now, roadtobattlefield.com. That's our domain. You'll be able to apply, and I think by the time this podcast is released, everything will already be live. People will be able to submit applications, participate in the competition, win prizes, travel to Silicon Valley, and present their startup at the world's largest startup conference. We cover all expenses. I think it's a great opportunity. The whole process happens online. So essentially, you just need to participate. If you win, we will cover flights, accommodation, and everything else. This is a truly unique opportunity. I think every founder, every startup should go through this program.
Super, super.
I think this is the program that would suit most participants.
That's great. We really hope that among the hundreds of thousands of students who will watch this, many will get inspired and realize that if they want to go to Silicon Valley, they have a home away from home there, a place they can come to. They will be supported, they will be helped. There's a strong community and great programs. And I really hope that among the graduates of the AI Sana program, there will be startups that you invest in. Startups we'll later talk about, like Higgsfield, that will become unicorns, and we'll be proud of them because they come from here, from Central Asia. Thank you very much, Asset.
Thank you, Alina. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.